There's a lot of experts on YouTube sharing their thoughts on subjects that they know a lot about. CJR artists, roundtables of whoever, critics, journalists, and I say enough. Enough of this informed opinion bullshit. We need more people out of their depth desperately trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Hi, this is Punk and Anime Exposure.
Be careful what you wish for. Punk.
What follows next is a long explanation of how the show was created and how it's gonna work. If you're not interested in an exposition dump, skip to the timecode on screen. So here's the premise. I am no anime expert, I know very little about the medium. Not gonna pretend I know some stuff, I know what anime is, obviously. It would have been a fascinating show if I had to guess what anime is for like 20 minutes or so. I know what it is and I've seen anime in my life. Some stuff that were in syndication on the telly when I was a kid, some stuff just growing up. I'd hear, this thing is popular, and I would check it out on occasion. And now as an adult with formed tastes, if I see some anime that looks interesting, I watch it. But the amount of things that I've seen is very, very small, especially compared to the stuff that I feel like everyone have watched, except for me. For example, I have never watched Attack on Titan, or Death Note, or Tokyo Ghoul. Is that a popular one? I heard the name, but I have no idea if it's popular or what it's about. I watched Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood roughly a year ago, and I didn't really like it. So yeah, I guess it's not just uninformed opinions that you're gonna get in the show, but also hot takes. And of course, One Piece. Never watched it, and I never will. It has like 3 billion episodes. Are you fucking kidding me with this shit? But I read comics pretty much my whole life, and recently I started reading and enjoying quite a lot of manga. And through that experience I thought, you know what? Let me give a shot to some anime. But how to pick what to watch? There's so many stuff. And that's where I had this genius idea that I stole from a channel called Lixtorius. He has this format where he reviews randomly picked anime, and I was like, yes, that's what I'm gonna do. There's an obvious difference here. He seems to know quite a lot about anime, and the entire hook of this show is that I don't. And also, he didn't make a new video in this format for almost a year, so I don't feel that bad about the whole stealing the format thing. And an additional thing, my random picks are not very random. There's brackets of randomness here. Basically, each episode I'm gonna pick 3 random anime from my anime list, but there's 2 different categories. I'm gonna pick 2 titles from highest rated list and 1 from most popular list. The difference being that highest rated list does not have a bunch of random shit like animated ads, music videos, and hentai, while popular list has its all. That's most of that list, honestly. The point of anime exposure, as you can guess from the title, is to expose myself to a lot of different anime, not to just watch bunch of random shit. Although I realize, of course, that it would be funny if I would just accidentally random 3 different, like, hentai things, and I would have to figure out a way to talk about them on YouTube. That would have been entertaining. But that's not the point of the show. I actually want to watch some good anime. Here's how it's going to work. I made a program to pick random anime. And by I mean I said to AI make it for me because I don't know shit about coding. And this program is an absolute masterpiece, state of the art, the most advanced piece of software that you have ever seen in your life. It has 3 buttons. Yes, not 1, not 2, 3. First button picks anime from the highest rated list, and it's appropriately called Elitist Beauty. Second button picks anime from the list of most popular, and obviously it's called Popular Trash. And the third button, the most exciting one, it opens picked anime on my anime list, and it's called, you guessed it, anime. But that's not all. The program's functional gets even deeper. I know, that's exciting. Get ready. The first button, in addition to picking a random anime, can also cure cancer. Maybe. Again, I didn't code it, I don't know how to, I just set it to AI and I have no idea what AI actually put into code, so that's possible? But it also does this thing, because I don't want to watch just some random bullshit. Before picking anime, it also randomly picks a range from 1 to 100, 1,000 or 10,000. That way there is actually a pretty good chance that relatively often I'm gonna watch something good, or decent, or an anime picked from 1 to 10,000, which is basically whatever fucking random bullshit they have on my anime list. So pretty amazing capabilities of our first button, if you ask me. I mean, Steve Jobs who? And the second and third button are just one purpose. They just do one thing. You see, we have to roll out innovations slowly, so the world just wouldn't lose its mind. And we still haven't finished. Here's some additional rules. Again, I want it to be an enjoyable experience for me, not a fucking torture. On my anime list, different seasons of the same show listed under separate entries. So if I randomly pick, let's say, a third season of something, instead of it, I'm going to watch the first one. Because otherwise it would be an absolute fucking insanity. Like, I don't know enough about anime as it is. There's no point in making it more confusing. And second thing, once per video, if I'm gonna pick some piece of content that I don't want to watch, I will allow myself to re-roll and watch something else. We're gonna call it something like One Piece rule, because I'm not gonna watch One Piece. You can't make me. It's an absolute absurd amount of episodes that I refuse to sit through. And yeah, that's basically it. We're done with exposition. So now we can... no, not start talking about anime. Not yet. There's one more quite an important thing that we have to do. We have to meet everyone who decided to skip the whole exposition part, because they're going to arrive here right about now. So you don't want to listen what the show is about? You just want to go to cartoons, you dumbass? Now you're just gonna be confused throughout the entire video because you don't know what the backstory is, you don't know the rules. Yeah, by the way, there are rules. Did you know about it? No, you didn't. You skipped through them, fucking idiot. Like, are you a child or something? Like, you're a child that cannot sit through a little bit of information? You know what? No. We're not moving forward with this video with your stupid and educated ass here. Here's a time code, go back, listen to the entire backstory, and only then you are allowed to watch this video.
I'm gonna skip all the explanation, I wanna watch cartoons.
Fucking moron. Go! And now, when we have only responsible people that don't skip huge chunks of videos with us, we can actually start the fucking show. So the first anime that I will expose myself to is pretty popular and pretty highly ranked, and I have no idea how to pronounce its name. Haikyuu. 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 Just like I'm sneezing. Haikyuu. Haikyuu is a sports anime produced by the studio Production IG and based on the manga series of the same name that was written and drawn by Haruichi Furudate. And it's about a high school volleyball team. And that's pretty much all it is. It's fairly straightforward. There's no additional catch, there's no high concept. Like, they're not playing on some intergalactic tournament to save Earth from the race of evil aliens that want to enslave us all because we are a subspecies, but also they conveniently really love volleyball. Or something. I don't know, I'm just spitballing here. Haikyuu is just about regular kids that play volleyball. And I loved it. I'm gonna be honest, I was pretty skeptical going into it. I don't have a lot of experience with anime, but I know that anime and manga, like a lot of other industries to be fair, has a tendency to cling to trends. Something comes out that becomes popular and everyone tries to do the same thing to make something similar. And I have basically no experience with sports anime, but during my delve into manga I have read Slam Dunk. And I know that it's extremely popular, that's why I read it. So my first thought about Haikyuu was, oh, so it's just like Slam Dunk but volleyball, right? And while it's not completely wrong assessment, it's also not really a fair one. Haikyuu is more than just Slam Dunk but volleyball. It manages to establish its own unique identity. Similarities are obvious, but they're all also pretty superficial. Like, it's about a team sport that played with the ball. There's a lot of jumping. The main character of the Slam Dunk loves to dunk, and the main character of the Haikyuu loves to spike. In the beginning, the team doesn't really work together, but by training and playing, they become a cohesive unit. And there's a Naruto-Sasuke-esque dynamic between the main character and another kid. It's all there, for sure, but I also think it's kind of done intentionally. Like, in the beginning it does resemble Slam Dunk quite a bit, but I think they do it to give an audience like a familiar starting point. But pretty quickly, Haikyuu starts moving into its own unique direction. This show has several strong points: the animation, music, direction, pace, and the structure. But the thing that I love the most is the least tangible one: its heart. If I had to describe Haikyuu in one word, I'd use the word sincere. It's unapologetically sincere. There's not one false or cynical note in the entire show. It's about a team, and it starts with the conflict and the rivalry, but very quickly they realize that they're a team and they have to work together and be there for each other, support each other, because that's what team does. Like when the main character, Hinata, with his rival Kageyama, that do have this Naruto-Sasuke dynamic going on in the beginning, both realize that two of them are very talented players. Hinata's great at spiking and Kageyama is a genius setter, but together they can be exceptional. And that moment, when Kageyama sets the ball for Hinata for the very first time, it's just... I was pretty skeptical going into it, and I didn't expect that the show would hit me in the feelings. But when it did it in the third episode, basically right in the beginning of the show, I was like, okay, there's something special here. And that's not the only time. Like, when their ace, that lost confidence in his abilities after a lost match and left the team so he wouldn't be their burden, they convince him to come back and he gets his mojo back and slaps the ever-living fucking shit out of that ball. Or when their quiet and shy team manager gives them sort of a pep talk before their game and it inspires them to just wreck shit. It's all just really cool and nice and sweet and sincere. It's all about the team and camaraderie, not individualism, which makes perfect sense because it's a story about a team sport. And there's really no focus, at least in the first season, on anything else. We don't see their home lives, their parents, their friends outside of the team, and there's no love subplots. I mean, there kind of is, but it's mostly played as a joke. It's about the team, and basically all of the members have a moment to shine. It's not only focused on the excellence of the main characters. One of the coolest parts of the season was this C-plot that went from the beginning to the end, where Kageyama replaced one of the older players as setter because he's just so good at it, and that guy was just on the sideline, on the bench, kind of cheering for the rest of the team entire season, but not doing much. And when eventually he comes into play, that was a really good payoff, and they also tied it into Kageyama's story arc. It's just some really brilliant stuff. Here's a fun fact about me: I love opening intros, in movies, TV shows, and in anime, of course. We all come to whatever we're going to watch in different moods, affected by everything that happened during the day, or maybe that's happening in our lives in general, and that can affect the viewing experience. And the purpose of the opening intro is to kind of reset you, to put you in the right frame of mind to watch whatever you're going to watch. So let's talk about openings. And endings, I guess. I don't really care about those, but we will talk about them. Show has 2 openings and 2 endings. They're both fairly simple, by the books, but the first opening, I think, does a really good job of hyping you up before the episode. It's fun and exciting. And the second one is a downgrade. It's not bad, animation is pretty decent, but comparatively it's way more mellow and doesn't do as good of a job for me, so I ended up skipping it most of the time. And endings, I think both of them are perfectly fine. I like them both, but honestly, I don't really understand the dramatic purpose of the ending. It's just to show the credits. You can do that over a black screen like everyone else. I don't get them, but I also don't hate them, they're fine. The one problem I do have with the show, sort of, which I think is more of a problem of anime in general as a medium, is the over-reliance on exposition and narration. And yes, I know it's a part of cinematic language of anime, right? It's a part of long-standing tradition of how the shows are written and directed, and Haikyuu didn't invent this approach. But I do believe that any visual medium, and anime is most certainly a visual medium, should strive towards silent cinema roots or manga roots and tell the story mostly through images. Narration, exposition, and even dialogue are crutches in visual storytelling. You can use them to spice things up, but not to do the heavy lifting. And the most frustrating part is that Haikyuu isn't scared to create rich dramatic images to tell the story, to break rules of reality and convey what's necessary, what's happening inside of characters. It can do it. It does it. But also it just stuffs almost every single one of those scenes with unnecessary narration. It's just so frustrating. Like, look at this. It's a scene that made out of a sequence of simple but effective shots that tell you the story of this kid. And I don't even think that I have to explain what the story is. You can just look at it and you get it. But of course there's a redundant narration that just spoon feeds you the information and tells you exactly what's happening in front of your eyes like you're fucking blind or something. It's just so unnecessary. I don't understand why they do that. But enough with negativity. Here's some random things that I liked. This logo on the team's uniform reads like dicks, which is funny. Dicks are funny. This shot in the second opening looks like a crow exploded, which is equally as funny as dicks. There's several great training montages that, as a fan of training montages, I enjoyed a lot. I love that when our team shows up for the tournament, just because they have black uniforms, everyone thinks that they're a group of bad boys, even though they're totally just a bunch of dorks. And my absolute favorite scene in the show, after spoiler, team loses the tournament. It's the first season of 5, they're not gonna win everything immediately. And they all go to the restaurant and start eating and crying. I'm not gonna say that it made me cry, because that would have been a lie, it didn't, but it did touch me. It's really fucking good. The second anime that I landed on was Ping Pong the Animation. And even though it could have been interesting to watch 2 sports shows and maybe compare them and stuff, I decided not to do that. Because Ping Pong the Animation actually included in that small pool of anime that I've seen before. I've watched Devilman Crybaby on Netflix, really loved it, and I was like, who's this Masaki Yuasa guy and what he made before? That's how I ended up watching Ping Pong, and that was awesome. Truly great stuff. But to make first episode of Anime Exposure a little bit more interesting, I decided to skip it and roll again. And that choice was pivotal. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It was produced by David Production and based on the manga by Hirohiko Araki. And of course, I knew about this show. I heard about it a million times. I saw memes. It's kind of hard to use internet and escape any mention of JoJo. And it made me very curious about the style and aesthetic of the show. So I was excited to actually check it out. And it was indeed a bizarre adventure. My journey through the show could be roughly split in 3 parts. First, in the beginning, when we introduced to the story, all the key players, core conflict, and the style, of course, I vibed with it. I thought it was awesome. First 3 episodes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventures were a lot of fun. My focus was of course on the aesthetic of the show, this larger-than-life, very operatic style that makes even the littlest thing so grand and epic. No small actions or emotions, like if the character doesn't like a dog, he's not gonna just make a mean remark or something. He's gonna fucking kick the shit out of it. It's silly, of course, but like, in a very enjoyable way, you know? Not the dog kicking part, I'm talking about the style. Don't kick dogs. So, in the beginning we're introduced to the 2 boys, JoJo and Dio. They have this rivalry, mostly stemmed of Dio's resentment of JoJo that spans over the rest of their lives. Core story is fairly simple, but not in a bad way. It's just not overstuffed with needless things. To be fair, there is a magic mask and vampires there, but it didn't feel like too much. Also, I kind of immediately noticed that my complaint about anime's over-reliance on narration and exposition is not really applicable here. Not like JoJo doesn't have it, on the contrary it has plenty of both, but because of the general over-the-topness, it feels more appropriate. Everyone here doing a lot. Artists with character designs and color choices, actors with their performances, action choreography, openings and endings that go so fucking hard. Basically everything. So when writing also chooses to go into this excessive over-explaining mode, it feels more harmonious. If you vibe with this, of course. If you don't, well, I assume it can be quite a bit torturous.
Sometimes foreshadowing is relatively obvious.
The first part of my viewing experience of JoJo, the first 3 episodes, were great. They were awesome. And if that's where the show would have ended, I would have loved it. But there were 23 more episodes to go. Second part of my journey didn't begin terribly, of course. I was coming off the high and had big expectations. We met new characters and got introduced to new concepts, specifically Hamon, which is magic, like just magic. They tried to explain it with some made-up nonsense about flows of energy or whatever, but don't pretend like it's not just some fucking magic, okay? And what I thought was going to happen is that starting with the 4th episode, we were gonna go into this monster of the week type of setup. JoJo will travel the world, fight a bunch of monsters to gain more power and better control of his magical magic to eventually fight and fully defeat Dio. But no, it's not what the show had in store for me. It's nothing if not unpredictable. Instead of Monster of the Week, we, right after defeating Dio, go into defeating Dio. Again. But on top of purely personal conflict fueled by spite, now it's a fight for the future of the world against the armies of undead, with endlessly described but still somehow really vaguely defined power of Hamon. And friendship, of course. But mostly Hamon. It's not even like the story took a left turn, it's more like the story took a turn into the wall. But it was a dry wall that was right in front of a cliff. And now the car that's rolled down the cliff is also filled with nitroglycerin. And Hamon, of course. At this point, JoJo started really losing me, and it happened so fast. Just 3 episodes ago, I was really feeling it. And now I'm even scared to think about how many episodes there are in this season. It's just the endless barrage of meaningless bullshit like, my Hamon is stronger than your Hamon, and it's the most Hamoniest Hamon out of all the Hamons in this Hamon town. At this point, story just turned into this farcical nonsense with terrible pace, and it's hard to even just let go, enjoy the action animation, because animation itself becomes worse. I understand the idea of spending more money on the first episode to make a good impression, makes sense, and I get the necessity behind cheating your way through some scenes to save some money, but not action scenes in your action anime. There's some action scenes here that look like a fucking slideshow, like it's a visual novel or some shit. Like, it sucks. I was dumbfounded. I couldn't understand why would anyone enjoy this show. Like, it's just not good. There's of course some saving graces, but there's just not enough of them. And then the episode 9 happened. After the brutal fight with Dio number 2, JoJo arrives right into the brutal fight with Dio number 3, this time on a boat. At this point I was like, fuck you show, you stinky and you suck and I hate you. But little did I know that the show itself was like, yeah, I know, that whole thing that just happened fucking sucked, I don't like it, you don't like it, so how about we just blew it up, burn it, and sink it to the bottom of the ocean all at the same time. And that successfully captured my attention. Because in this episode, they killed the main character. JoJo's adventure is so bizarre that he fucking died 1/3 of the way through it. And starting with episode 10, we have a fully new cast of characters, storyline, and of course, new JoJo. Because the last one is fucking dead. Not gonna lie, didn't expect that. When that happened, I kinda half remembered that I think I knew that JoJo has like different protagonists, but I thought that switch from one to another happened in between seasons, not in episode 9. And also I didn't know that they all were related or all named JoJo, so. And new JoJo, I mean, he's something else. Entirely. This twist in the story, although it's not even a twist really, it's just the beginning of a new season, it obviously does a really good job of rejuvenating the show, making it way more fun. And that's where part 3 of my journey through JoJo begins. Not gonna lie, I never fully fell in love with the show again. It never fully worked for me, never fully clicked, but I had way more fun with this part than with the one before. It still had a lot of issues, like storytelling approach that could be roughly described as gibberish of a crazy man, when the shit just happens and it doesn't make any rational sense or in-universe sense. Like, the thing that was truly pissing me off at this point is just the sheer amount of exposition of everything. I gave it pass in the beginning because the story wasn't so fucking confusing and nonsensical, but at this point, when they would introduce any new concept or plot point or anything, they would go into this prolonged exposition about how it works or where it comes from. But most of the things that they're explaining, it's just magical made up bullshit. So you don't need to actually waste my time explaining that. Just say, it's magic, because it's basically how it works anyway. All of their explanations, they don't actually matter. They don't fucking track. For example, there is a moment when first JoJo, to beat an enemy, shoots his hamon through enemy's sword and goes to explain that metal also has hamon in it. But then, literally 3 episodes later, another character drops a chandelier on a bunch of vampire zombies and then kicks them and goes to explain that steel, because it's not a living object, can't contain hamon. And I'm like, but metal sword, like, steel is metal. I get that there's a lot of metals, but steel is one of them. But okay, maybe steel is exception. Maybe in all of the expository monologues that they do, they just forgot to mention it. But then, new JoJo starts to use his new and exciting weapon, balls made out of fucking steel that have no problem containing hamon. Like, what the fuck? The show feels like they just come up with random shit as they go, spend like 90% of episode's runtime explaining all of it, and then in the next episode, they just forgot all about it. And I guess I am the moron for even trying to make sense of any of this shit. The only way to watch JoJo and actually enjoy it is to like treat it like it operates on a dream logic. None of it makes sense, and it's not supposed to, and you should just look at pictures and listen to the sounds, and maybe it's gonna make you feel stuff. While thinking about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, I couldn't stop comparing it in my head to Mad Max Fury Road, one of the greatest films ever made. It also has a very bold, big style that's in your face, but it never gets bogged down in details. There's clearly a huge world that is thought out, that has its own rules, but it doesn't matter. That's not the focus. There's a clear story in the center of the chaos and a very basic plot structure to convey it all. And I think that's why the first 3 episodes of JoJo worked for me so well. Essentially, it's just a basic-ass period drama. There's 2 brothers that hate each other, there's a love triangle and all that nonsense. Nothing deep and definitely nothing complicated, excluding the vampire thing in the end. It's a simple story that told with this crazy style that elevates it really high and makes it a lot of fun. But when it started diving in all this magical nonsense craziness, like it really lost me. But here's some fun stuff. Even though fact of Nazi guy's inclusion into the story is weird as fuck, especially when they try to make him into a sympathetic hero of sorts with all the, oh, poor Nazis, they just really love their country. The voice actors that played him did an amazing job. Episode 18 is astonishing. That episode is astonishing. And the funniest thing in the entire show, genuinely the best scene, it's when some poor actor had to voice a fucking pigeon. I'm not gonna lie, after that I was laughing for like 10 minutes straight. And for the last entry into the first episode, pick from the popular list. Mighty Button selected a 6-minute short film called Flowers, made in 2006 by a Japanese animator and director, Kenji Kawasaki. And if you're like, who? Then don't fucking ask me, I'm the new guy here, not you. But to be serious, he's not incredibly popular from what I can tell. Not unpopular either. His short films on YouTube have a lot of views. There's a Wikipedia page about him, and there and also on the website of Ialin is a media production company that makes mixed media animation, where he's listed as a talent. It's said that he won some awards for his second short film. And he also directed a lot of music videos, commercials, trailers, and stuff like that. And again, according to his wiki page, he worked in some capacity on the anime Release the Spice. But he's not actually credited in any way on his My Anime List page, so I don't know. Basically not a random guy, but he did make much of a splash in the mainstream anime scene. And The Flowers is his very first short film that he made in 2006 while studying in uni. So yeah, I talk about 2 very popular shows already. Now it's time to talk about a fucking student film. And by talk about, I mean that I will just repeat everything that happens in it because it's really short. So you can just watch it if you want. Link in the description. Flowers is a 6 minutes long 3D animated wordless film. It follows a guy in a desolate city that has a withered flower growing out of his chest. He meets a girl that also has a flower, but hers is blooming. Guy gets ashamed of his flower and doesn't try to interact with the girl, so they go their separate ways. Then Guy gets attacked by some dark entity that rips off and destroys his flower. And when the guy's sad because of that, the entity comes to him, gives him a mask, and sends to attack the girl. Guy does it, but when he destroys her flower and gives her the mask, she refuses and replants the thorn flower back in her chest. That makes the entity angry and it tries to attack the girl, but the guy protects her. He takes off his mask and throws it back at the entity, which makes entity Thanos snap itself out of existence. Girl holds the guy's hand, which makes his flower grow out again. The end. One thing that I want to point out right from the start, pure visual storytelling, baby. No exposition, no narration, no dialogue, just images and music that tell the story together. It's proven now, they know how to do it in Japan. So why the fuck they don't do it on like major productions? Going back to the short film, it's a very simple one. 3D models and animation have an endearing mid-2000s lo-fi quality to them. The story is minimalist, certainly open to interpretation, can be a metaphor for depression, cynicism, war, or a lot of different things. Basically, hurt people, and the only way to break the cycle of violence, cruelty, and hurt is just by breaking that cycle, by stopping. Simple, but definitely cool and interesting. And it made me curious to watch Kenji's next short. It has 4 million views on YouTube, and that's the film that he won awards for. It's called Chiruri, which I believe means chill, and it's only 8 minutes long. So again, I will just recap all of it, and again, link in description. New short, in a lot of ways, looks like an updated version of his first work. Similar setting and main characters being boy and a girl with mirroring experiences, switching dark entity for a faceless crowd of people that populates the city. Plot-wise, we follow a boy that goes through what looks like a desert, and he is really thirsty before seeing in front of himself a city. And we see a girl inside of the city, where she tries to give apples to the faceless crowd. Boy searches for something to drink, but no one wants to help. Wells are dry and the water in the city looks like black sludge. And everyone ignores the girl. No one wants her help, to the point that she even gets attacked one time, and the apples start to rot. From despair, the boy tries to drink the sludge, but it's not drinkable, so he vomits it all out. And the girl, realizing that no one wants her help and the apples are rotten now, so she starts to cry inky blue tears. Her tears fill the city's streets and the boy sees them, and he follows them to the source. Boy and girl meet each other. The thirsty boy licks some tears off his hand and realizing that they are drinkable, he leans in and starts to drink them from their origin, right out of girl's eyes. After, when the girl saw that she actually managed to help someone, she starts to cry again. But this time tears are different. This time it's white tears. Happy tears. Boy and girl embrace each other. Later, when the city is already dry, they smile at each other and go their separate ways. Second short is way more interesting in my opinion. Just the jump in quality of animation alone is already impressive, but Kenji also really leveled up in his storytelling abilities. Chiruri is even more open to interpretation and more expressionist. Themes clearly are similar, but the way he explores them is much stronger. It almost feels like the finished version of Flowers, like that was sort of a first draft of this story. The image of a boy drinking the girl's tears alone is awesome. It's striking. It definitely manages to get strong emotional response, which is kind of the whole purpose of art, so good job. And again, just showing, not telling. Originally I was kind of apprehensive about focusing on someone's YouTube short films, but now I'm kind of glad, because seeing Kenji Kawasaki's growth as an artist is kind of inspiring. We saw his work in the beginning with a very simple short, and now we can watch a bunch of music videos that he directed to see the progress and all the skills that he acquired along the way. I would love to see him tackle something more narrative-centric, of course, like a film or a show, but even so, he already achieved some really cool stuff. And it's honestly kind of hard not to make parallels to this show, because this show is also the beginning of this show, anime exposure, beginning of this channel, Celopunk, and maybe, hopefully, with time, we also will be able to look back at this episode and see how far it all went and feel somewhat inspired. Or nothing will happen and I continue talking to the void. There's a world of opportunities in front of us. And I guess that's the end of the first episode of Anime Exposure, which is really convenient because my camera's battery is dying, so good timing. You now can go down into the comments and write that I'm an imbecile and JoJo is great, actually, and I'm not even gonna argue with you if you also like and subscribe while you're at it. New episodes are definitely coming. There's a myriad of different anime to talk about, and One Piece not included. Bye!